right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining and welcome to the September 2021 Life Design Analysis webinar. As usual, I'm your host, Charlie Conron. I'm CTO and founder of Life Design Analysis. And I think we have a great webinar for you. It's hard to believe it's already September, but for those of you who have kids, it's nice that the kids are back in school. And generally, this is kind of what we think of as the busy season for life insurance. So everyone's really, ramping back up and getting those kind of gears going for the end of year push. This September, we wanted to present something a little bit different. So we actually went back into the blog archive and looked at some of our articles. And this month, we're going to be focusing on some of the top 10 behaviors that really separate successful advisors from the rest of the herd. We obviously speak to hundreds and thousands of advisors every single year, get to learn a little bit about their process. And there are a few common traits between them that are really key that we see in how they approach the business and how they approach their clients. Just before I get into kind of some of the case studies in some of the articles, just a reminder, this webinar is going to be recorded. So if you do want to find a recording of the webinar afterwards, navigate to our blog, so lifedesignanalysis.com/blog. As well, if you wanted to try any of these case studies after, we do have a 30-day free trial, so feel free to navigate there and try any of these cases yourself. You can sign up free. After the 30 days, your trial expires, and we have lots of different packages to choose from. Now, as I mentioned, we're talking about the top traits of successful advisors. So let's go ahead and let's jump right into our first one. And the first trait that we notice when we talk to successful advisors, bar none, is that no matter what sort of industry they're, what market they're in, they always recommend the best product for their clients. And kind of the little caveat there is regardless of commission. Obviously in our industry, we are ranked by FYC and we are bonused and recognized by, sort of the amount of new sales that we're recording. So it's natural to want to make a sale and obviously sell a lot of insurance. And when we're selling a lot of insurance, obviously it means we're protecting our clients. So that's still a great thing. But recommending the best sort of product for your client isn't necessarily, just picking a high premium whole life. A lot of times it's exploring the needs of your clients and actually discovering the true underlying need, working with the product that you have on your shelf to actually present and design the best product. And I'll give you an example of that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show and navigate over to Life Design Analysis. So this is the logged in view here. I'm going to go ahead and create a case here and give an example of sort of this case study. And so I'm again going to use my Phil Mickelson client. And Phil here is a 42-year-old male non-smoker. Now, what I want to do in this sort of case study is explore a scenario that happens actually quite a bit. And that's where, sort of two advisors or one client is basically shopping different options out there for, perhaps it's like a whole life strategy. And because the premium is large, naturally they may go to get second advice. And a lot of these high net worth clients who can afford, like $1 million of whole life, a $30,000 premium, let's say, might have a private banker and access to a wealth division. They may have an independent advisor or several in their circle of influence. They may even go ask their accountant for advice on, a certain asset transfer strategy and how, the accountant may have a different insurance counsel that they use. So what ends up happening is that, a lot of different eyes get looked at and options get thrown in the pot. And I want to just show, for really good advisors, what I often see is how they work with the client to uncover the true facts behind the case and present a solution that's truly unique rather than just something out of the box. So in this plan, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to be using RBC Whole Life to kind of illustrate this example. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click RBC Whole Life. I'm going to come across to their illustrator over here. And I just want to design first of all, kind of the out of the box. And so what happens, a lot of times insurance advisor goes, if this client has $30,000 to spend, I'll put $1 million of a 20-pay whole life. And again, you can see this is a 42-year-old male. And so basically, I'm going to use this as my baseline option. First, I want to view the spreadsheet. Second, I want to export that spreadsheet to Excel. And this is how we're going to bring this into Life Design Analysis. And so insurance advisor says, $1 million, $31,000 annual premium, describes all the tax benefits, and we'll just pull this into LDA and use this as our baseline. So again, I've just copied the information. I'm going to go ahead and paste it. If you're watching this for the first time, you can do this with any different insurance carrier software out there. Again, if you're not sure, we do have lots of videos on how to do that. And again, reach out to us over the live chat if you want to see that again. Now, no doubt this is going to be a great plan to present to the client. It's going to show phenomenal cash values, growing insurance benefits, and things like that. But advisors who truly, look at the scenario and say, maybe Phil has existing term coverage out there, and this is not necessarily an insurance benefit play. It's more about creating cash value. The really good advisors I work with really work the product and distill that true need to find a better solution. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So, we could have advisor B here who's using LDA. So stock advisor comes out and just presents $1 million illustration at RBC, says I can kind of create these cash values. Here's the reduced, here's the guarantee. Advisor B comes along and says, that's really great, Phil. And certainly we could, do a stock RBC whole life for $1 million. But because you already have maybe other insurance out there, or the main goal of this is maybe to create more cash value and it's more of an asset transfer strategy, the way that I work with my clients is maybe scenario B here. And again, as I said, I'm still going to work with RBC whole life, so I'm going to select that again and add it to the case. And I'm going to go in and I want to edit the title right away here, and I'm just going to say advisor B. So I'll just make this B and save that new title. Now, advisor B might come along and say, look, you have $31,000 to spend. It's not necessarily about the $1 million benefit. So what if we did $500,000 of the base insurance, and in our deposit option, that basically, again, comes out to, let's just see here, before I turn on that deposit option, comes out to about $15,715. So basically, if we know advisor 1 was presenting a $30,000 solution, we can work with that using the extra deposit option if it's not truly an insurance play. So again, I've got my insurance premium at $15,000. I'm going to change the deposit option to, the maximum actually brings it close, $15,865. So I'll go with kind of the maximum deposit from years 1 to 20. Again, my total payment is roughly around the same, $31,000, but that's what I'm thinking my client's budget is here. Again, I'm going to export this quote here to Excel. So this is a little different. I want to just make sure if you ever get that error, it's likely because you have an old spreadsheet file up there. So we're going to close out our old quote. Again, I want to export this one to Excel. I've got kind of my new values here, so 15 base premium, but 15 ADO. Same sort of thing, I'm going to select everything and copy it. And I'm going to come back to LDA and present option B here. And again, it's working with those different options on your shelf to find the best possible fit for the client goals. And so let's take a look at our scenario and just see how, for roughly the same premium, advisor B can present a solution that might, suit the client a little bit better and has fully done the due diligence to find the right product for the actual scenario. So let's go ahead and generate the report. So again, we've got a report. Remember, your logo is going to go there, disclaimer, any kind of supplementary pages here. And you can see basically our stock out of the box $1 million quote, years 1 to 20 was $31,430. Option B here, we started with $500,000 of coverage, but we added that extra premium in the ADO. So years 1 to 20 is very close. You can see we're a couple $100 a year difference. But again, it's going to be a very fair comparison when we're talking about sort of the same premium deposit and looking out for what's truly best for the client, and especially in a scenario where perhaps that client is out there looking for different options. What's going to separate the good from bad, or not bad advisors, but the best from the rest. Is going to be some of these due diligence and how they work with product and compare them and show them to their client and prove out kind of those values. And you can see, again, obviously the sum of premium and the premium deposit schedule are very close. At the end of the day, a slight premium deposit difference, negligible. But again, when we look at things like the cash value and of both plans, we're going to notice some dramatic differences in them. Even though, plan B was $500,000 of base, we had all that extra additional deposit going in there. And again, I'm going to be really curious about seeing the overlays of these, so I'm going to scroll down to the overlays. And what's interesting is, in the cash, maybe not surprisingly, we can see that we actually have a superior cash value all the way along this curve. So if this sort of sale to fill, again, the scenario of digging down into, is this about creating tax-free cash flow that we can leverage against? You'd have to say scenario B here is definitely the better option. Now, it's also important to look at these things on a reduced basis. So again, I can bring in, say, for example, the total cash value of the RBC on the reduced, and my example B here, reduced cash value as well. You can see, again, cash value is stronger even in a reduced example with our sort of product design in example B there. And again, if we look at things like the guaranteed cash value, well, guaranteed cash value is where you're going to see example B really get hurt. Again, it only has, sort of the 500,000 of base, so it doesn't quite have as much guaranteed cash value. So again, if guarantees are important, scenario 1 might be that much better. However, again, working with product design, sort of ensuring that you have the best product fit, and especially, sort of in those, reduced scenarios. Again, sort of coverage amount too, a little bit surprising here. Of course, we think because we started with $1 million of base, that it would have that advantage for a long time. But you can see, under the current scenario here, about year 11, when the 500,000 base with the extra additional deposit actually has more insurance coverage than even that $1 million. So even if it was primarily an insurance a asset play, sort of strategy, the fact that it also has more insurance in that primary scenario. And again, we'll also want to look at things like the reduced example. So again, we'll pull out these ones here, the total. Let's look at the reduced example of that total coverage. And you can see here, scenario B takes a little bit longer in scenario B here, maybe about an extra year. But again, superior values all the way through in a reduced scenario. Let's take a look at those guarantees as well. This is where, again, we can probably expect a much lower guaranteed amount, because again, we're only going to see that face in there. But again, if we're not selling on guarantees here and we are trying to create a strategy, it's hard to argue that strategy B is not creating superior values in terms of cash in the plan, which we're saying is in this scenario relevant to our client, but also in that sort of insurance benefit area as well. Again, if you go out to life expectancy, that you can see, it's creating actually about $500,000 nearly more of coverage amount. And again, all things being equal, because we're comparing the same company, if the dividend goes down, it goes down in both these scenarios. So really compelling argument, kind of bringing me back to recommend the best product for your client. And again, I say that regardless of commission, because there are going to be scenarios, like our Phil Mickelson one, where we might need to work with something like ADO. Again, it's going to reduce our commission, but if it solves the client's needs a little bit better, and especially if you're in competition, coming to the table with the best product solution is going to be how to win the case. All right. Now, the next one on our list is stay current. So the best advisors in the business, the ones who pay attention to product changes, attend the lunch and learns, and learn about some of the the new solutions that are out there, and find those market fits and keep on top of the clients they have. The ones who stay current are usually the best in the business, and they always have a solution. They understand how the product works and where the right fit is. Now, in terms of how LDA can help in this area, I think a lot comes down to, when you think about that great LifeGuide integration that we have built into the platform. And just as a note, LifeGuide subscribers do receive a 50% discount up until the cost of your LifeGuide subscription. And again, by having this built into LDA on every single case, you're ensuring that you're looking for the best market fits. You're seeing new products that are available to the market. You can see, things like the medical underwriting details that it would take, for certain products out there versus others, to ensure that it's also convenient for your client, and they'll be successful with their application. The other thing I would point out is, if you do take a look at our blog archive, I know I've mentioned that several times over the webinar, but we also try and keep an insurance carrier software update. So for when you do need those sort of physical softwares on your computer, we have a nice resource for you to find them. I also want to give kind of a special shout out to For Advisors Only. This is if you're not using this resource to stay current, There's a wealth of information from some of the best advisors in the business. Lawrence Geller runs this forum, but it's a great resource to stay tapped into the emerging trends, interesting articles. But I would also point out a couple groups that on Facebook. So if you're not joined the Life Insurance Canada group, joined by Lauren Marr, or Essential Security Financial Advisors with Jim Ruda. Again, great resources from some of the best advisors in the business, sharing tips, best practices, even case studies. So again, best advisors in the business are always trying to expand their education and find better ways to suit their clients. So, naturally by having life design analysis, we're going to try and help you stay current, but there are a ton of different ways that you can update your education and use it to your benefit. Now, another thing we see amongst the best advisors is performing ongoing policy reviews. So not just, frequently or ad hoc, when the season arrives. This is something that's prescribed from the time that the policy is sold. So, what I see from some of the best advisors who are using life design analysis would be things like the notifications in LDA. Advisors are going to get notified on certain opportunities to perform those reviews with their clients. So not only ingraining it as a habit to do at a prescribed schedule, but also getting alerted to those opportunities in a routine way. So you can see within my account here, obviously I have a number of different policies in there, but you can see I have different term conversion opportunities. This one happens to be for a term 20. You can see I'm getting notifications for term policies that are actually going over that 10-year mark. So again, these are really urgent opportunities for me. But again, it's going to keep me with a system and a prescribed schedule to go back and review those policies. The other thing I see is that a lot of advisors are actually creating a reminder for themselves. So while we're going to notify you on those term policies when it comes time to convert, you may want to make yourself a notification for a particular client to revisit them. So perhaps after that first policy anniversary, we're going to prescribe that we're going to look at this client every single year. And a great way to do this, I could just take a URL for a client or any kind of link. It could be a link to your CRM as an example to the contact file. You can schedule it out. So in my case, I'm going to say I want to review this next year. I'm going to give myself a week's lead time or maybe 2 weeks lead time to get on this. So I'm going to say, I better not schedule it Friday. I better schedule it for Thursday. And I'm just going to say, let's say like 11 o'clock. And I'm just going to say review force bill. Now again, this is something that, again, I'm going to get a reminder in my life design analysis account to go back to that. So great advisors are prescribed not only on how they approach and when they approach clients, but they're systematic in how they do it. And again, reviewing term policies in LDA is very, very easy. Again, in this case, I'm going to say, let's use my example client Phil here. I want to perform a term review. So I'm going to say, let's go ahead and select Phil. We're going to look for any sort of in-force policies. So we can see, Phil has a number of different in-force policies that we can review. Let's just say, for example, this Manu T10, I can bring that into the case to review it. And it becomes very easy to review on even an annual basis because I have all of the renewals saved on my LDA account. And again, you can save these products from either the survey themselves. So as you add products to the case and clients buy them, you simply go into the particular plan that it is and mark as sold. You can always update those if things change in the future. The other way you can do it is actually manually enter. So if you have maybe a printout of, say, that policy contract, you could manually enter the term premiums with all of the renewal schedule. So you can see I can enter that in there. And at the end of that, you would mark save as a policy, and that basically saves it to that client file. Now, when it comes time to review, if that's annually for you, maybe biannually or just on the prescribed triggers inside of LDA, you can easily pull those policies into review to maybe more permanent options. And again, this is where your case design and product knowledge of what what you want to show the client and what you think fits the client's needs. For example, again, maybe it's a full-on conversion in this case. We could go ahead and perform an annual review, but not have it be laborious and intensive. This is something we want to be very, very quick. We're going to survey the market. We're going to see, one, is Manulife competitive? It's 15% higher. So again, we're doing our due diligence by having the benefit of the survey. We know, if our client's healthy, maybe we don't approach them about a conversion. We present another company. If, maybe their health has changed, we're simply going for their conversion options. We can add those products in there. So again, that's where, by you having that sort of product knowledge and by reviewing frequently, you're going to be able to bring new options to the client. And again, you could always, of course, add a whole life product in there, design a layered solution. But again, doing a term review to review, what is happening to your term policy and what's going to happen over time versus, maybe a more permanent solution. And again, this is, really going to illustrate this policy is only 1 year old. You can see there's 9 years left till that next renewal. But after that, it's on that YRT renewal. And I find these are really compelling to show clients because, oftentimes we think short term, we think 10 years is a long time. When we look at the big picture, though, we really see what's happening to those different policies over time. So again, great way to kind of pull in policies and review them with different options. As I said, again, if certain products are too expensive, we can always, again, adjust those layers and things like that. So again, reviewing frequently. Remember, set those reminders. One other kind of quick point around that automation, I showed kind of in the notification setting that, it's going to basically run that automation on the note and notify me of those opportunities. Just remember, inside of LDA, you can actually have it when an opportunity comes up, you can have it quote out, sort of the recipe or the resulting report that you'd like. So really getting you kind of a jump start on those consistent policy reviews with your client, but you are going to get notifications inside of LDA on a prescribed basis. Our next one is leverage technology. Now, we know the best advisors in the business leverage technology, not just in the sense of tools like LDA. I mean, obviously, this is a shameless plug for LDA, but other tools and technology as well. So, even though LDA is a powerful system and we try and make it your one-stop shop for insurance, there's still probably going to be a need for you to have some kind of CRM technology. Again, maybe technology for things like calendar booking and live chat on your site. Maybe technology like ad roll and ad marketing. So effectively having your prospects and advertising digitally is something I don't think a lot of advisors maybe are taking advantage of because the learning curve. But again, there are lots of partners out there. You should definitely be leveraging technology to help you scale your business. Even things like lead gen is a great opportunity to kind of leverage technology. Obviously, communicate the value of their solution effectively. So this comes down to everything from your LDA reports. Obviously, the visuals help communicate product, but the value of your overall solution comes down to a lot more than product. So again, communicating effectively your value proposition to your client, is something that the best advisors do great. And again, this may, come down to their website. The sayings that they use, so analogies and things like that, the technology they use in order to present those products and the solution and the effectiveness. And again, I really love this graphic. It says that, it doesn't matter all the intelligence in the world, skill or talent, you might have the best personality, you might be talking about the most important items, so your substance of discussion is great. But if we can't communicate any of that, communication trumps everything. So the value of being able to, really quickly summarize a lot of information, communicate the strategy, present it to your client in a meaningful way. Best advisors in the business are great communicators. We always want to portray a professional image. So again, the best in the business have a neat, tightly polished presentation. They have all their material organized. They fact-checked it. They have the illustrations, but don't get lost in them. They have all the information concise. The best advisors have a consistent strategy. So we think about the hallmark of a good advisor, process, how you do things like onboard your new clients, how you review and research product for them, how you review their in-force policy and get notified on it on a consistent basis. All of these efficiencies lead to consistency, and again, you'll start to notice trends in your business. So again, by working through a case in a particular way and by having a prescribed approach to it, you'll find things like where you get drop-off and how to handle objections at that point. And more to that, if you're consistent, you can also have a consistent backup strategy too, so an objection handle strategy. The best advisors fact find. So great advisors know the scope of the client's needs, but performing things like needs analysis are how great advisors go out of their way and actually help them solve the problem. So really good fact finding. Obviously things like our needs analysis inside of LDA. As you're designing a case, again, remember you can do some of that fact find with your client, whether it's through editing this form with them live, or perhaps linking them to the needs analysis so they can have it filled out. So great advisors, again, make it easy for their clients to be able to actually give them this sort of information. So again, if I want to share and collect a needs analysis for my client, I can simply copy a link, open up a new incognito window. I can send that link to my client. And again, this is where we could leverage other technologies like social media, messaging, and find different ways to connect with our clients, maybe even outside of email, which often has the propensity to be ignored. But again, I can do a nice fact find with my client, collect any of kind of the information, so if they have any assets, things like that. We'll make this a little lower. Mortgage value, income. And again, you can work with this, but really fact finding all those different assets and liabilities, building in things like an education fund for the plan, any kind of household debt, exploring that. And again, last expenses, things of that nature. Again, you can always add any sort of other element, or your clients could add anything else that they're worried about into there as a value. And again, we can just say 100. Perfect. You'll see now we have an insurance need of $880,000. So again, that's a great way to get your clients engaged into that fact-finding process. Having a link to send them in LDA is a phenomenal way to do that. Again, if you have your own fact-finding process, another sort of thing that you may want to consider is even if you're using some kind of other fact find and it's a document or exports a PDF or something like that, remember you can always drop your fact find into the case itself. So keeping a tight knit on compliance is a great way to keep organized with these files. So obviously doing a fact find is phenomenal. How you do it, hopefully you enjoy the one in LDA, but if you do have an external one, you can always drop those in there as well. So finding out the client's needs. Obviously having a reputation for client service that leads to referrals, so being organized on your block of business, going out and above. This is things like when the policy is issued, calling back after a month, make sure everything is set up right. Perhaps your client bought a policy with extra benefit or something like that. So, I know from experience, I just bought a policy and there are some extra benefits with it. The advisor, I want them to follow up and say, did you get, if it's the case of, let's say, Vitality or something like that, did you get your Apple Watch? Did you sign up for Vitality? Maybe it's Foresters and you want to review the members' benefits. Again, that's another great opportunity inside of LDA to maybe set up one of those notifications for yourself to review that policy in, maybe a month or two. There's a lot going through to actually get a policy issued, and I can respect that. I don't necessarily want to hear from my advisor the next day, but I certainly do want them to follow up and say, did you get registered for Vitality? Did you have any questions about what that means? If it's Foresters, did you take advantage of any of those member benefits? You have 2 young kids that you may want to look at their education fund for college. So there's a lot more outside of the premium and some of those extra benefits. And again, I think those are opportunities to leverage that kind of client service using things like LDA and the reminders, for those kind of policies. And again, reinforce the process. So really sharpening the axe. Great advisors are always looking for the next way to add value for their clients, the next process. And again, they're often pushing the edge on that kind of technology piece where, as I said, it's not necessarily one piece of technology. It's how you're going to combine these different types of technology to work and define your process. And I give a really great example of this on a presentation I do about kind of broadly technology, and it's an example of a gorilla in the wild using a stick to measure sort of the depth of water. And they're doing this as a survival technique. If the water's too deep, the danger again for survival becomes a lot greater. But I think when we walk by the park, we don't think about sticks as a piece of technology, but when the gorilla uses it in that way, it becomes technology. So, it's all about how we use these different tools together. Some can be classical tech, but others are, your process of how you approach clients and the steps that you go through. So, that's what we see. We really see consistency, having a process in place, the way you approach clients, how you track that progress, how you remind yourself, and again, doing what's in the client's best interest by picking, sort of the top product for their needs is really how we're going to get, kind of elated clients willing to refer us to all of their friends. Now, if you like the top 10 traits of successful advisors, I'd also recommend that you take a look at our top mistakes by insurance advisors. Again, a lot of assumptions made in the industry. This is a great article on some of the things that, that are the biggest mistakes out there. Maybe advisors don't necessarily realize, there's a mistake. Sometimes we're in sort of that hypnotic rhythm, but there's a lot of, sort of really easy things we can do that, turn us from a good advisor into a great advisor. And a lot of them have to do with process and education and, how we treat our clients. But, we think there's a lot of different ways that life design analysis can help you in that case building, that case preparation. Good advisors versus great advisors. Great advisors invest in compliance. They invest in protecting their practice, and they invest in processes that can scale and increase customer service. And we really like to think here at Life Design Analysis we're perfectly aligned with those goals. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in and seeing our kind of 10 top tips of top advisors. And if you have any feedback or think anything else should be added to the list, please reach out and let us know about it. We'd love to update the list, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. So thank you very much. Take care.